Hi, it's Christine. It's Christine Van Gyn from the Canadian Constitution Foundation. I've never done one of these live videos before, but the funny thing is, I just uploaded a video about why travel restrictions in Canada need to end. Right as I hit publish of this video, I read a CBC news report that says that these travel restrictions are going to end. So that's really good news. As you can watch the full other video, which I linked to in the description of this one, about some of the legal and practical problems that exist with these travel restrictions. We have some concerns about the constitutionality of that, especially because the rationale for these continued measures has really waned as this pandemic has progressed, as vaccination rates have increased, as we've learned more about the effectiveness of the vaccine. There really is very little justification for the continued use of this policy that has had a really terrible impact on the lives of a lot of Canadians who are unvaccinated. And also because it's causing a lot of disruption at airports. And the tide really has turned. It seems like, industry, the media have all kind of come out and started asking a lot of questions about why this policy is still in place when vaccine passports in provinces across Canada have all been abandoned. So I'm just going to read to you what this CBC report says if you haven't seen it. So it just came out this evening. It says, Ottawa set to announce end to vaccine mandates for domestic travel and outbound flights. And these mandates have been in place since October 30th of 2021. And just so you're aware, we at the Canadian Constitution Foundation immediately had issued a news release when that policy was announced at the end of August of last year. We expressed our concerns. And in the past weeks and actually months, we've been having a number of meetings with our external lawyers about bringing a legal challenge. The reason we haven't done so is because we had a sense, based on a number of conversations we'd had, that the restrictions, the travel restrictions would not be renewed in July. And they were set to expire at the end of the month. So it's better for us to not bring a case if the government's going to abandon the policy. But let me continue and read the article for you. So it says, the federal government is set to announce Tuesday, that's tomorrow morning, an end to the COVID-19 vaccine mandates for domestic travel on planes and trains, as well as outbound international travel, CBC has learned. The government may reinstate the vaccine requirement if there is a new variant of the virus, according to sources with direct knowledge of the decision who spoke with CBC News on the condition that they not be named. The vaccine mandates for travel have been in effect since October 30th, 2021. As the mandate was phased in, travelers have had a 1-month grace period where they could instead provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test. The government has been under pressure from opposition parties as well as industry organizations to relax some of the public health measures in response to delays and long lineups at airports. Not sure if you guys have been following that, but there's been a lot of media attention to the absolute chaos at a number of Canadian airports. Of course, it's not across the board. There's some airports where that's not happening, but where I live in Toronto, Pearson looks like a complete nightmare, depending on the day that you travel, depending on, I guess, the time of your flight. And one of the big concerns has been people sitting on the tarmac, unable to deplane. It says here that when the vaccine mandate came into effect for travel, Transport Minister Omar Alabra said it was to keep travelers safe and employees in the industry safe. Now, I will add that I have filed a Freedom of Information request seeking for the government to provide us with the scientific basis for this policy. We have asked them for it. I will see what they say. It seems like that scientific rationale is not in place. And I just have to say that the fact that this change appears to have been made as a result of political pressure kind of shows that this was not a policy that was in place now because of any scientific justification. It's not like, the airports are suddenly crowded and busy and chaotic, and suddenly the science changes, and now vaccine mandates for planes and trains don't work. No, of course, science doesn't work that way. this is absolutely the right decision. It was absolutely the right decision to abandon this policy. But the fact that the federal government maintained it for as long as they did, when other places had abandoned these policies, which were ineffective and, in our view, constitutionally problematic, the fact that they'd abandoned them and the federal government seemed to continue to want to hammer on this policy was really political to us. There was not a continued scientific rationale for it. I'll continue to read this article. But experts have questioned the effectiveness of vaccine mandates, yes, for travel with the emergence of the more infectious Omicron variant. Tam, that's the Chief Public Health Officer for Canada, Dr. Tam has said the effective protection against the variant requires a third booster dose. Well, yes, there's no booster requirement. There was no booster requirement either, and I don't think there should have been. So far, the government's definition of fully vaccinated remains 2 doses of an approved COVID-19 vaccine or 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson. Last week, the federal government announced it was suspending random testing at airports. Also a political decision, also the right decision, but again, shows that this policy originally does not seem to have been backed by actual scientific rationale. Or if it was, and then I would like for the government to show it to us. The article concludes by saying, at that time, Alagra said Ottawa was taking other measures to address airport congestion, such as hiring more security screening personnel and adding more customs kiosks at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Now, one thing I would like to know that this article does not say is whether the federal government is going to make any changes related to the requirement for federal employees who work at airports to be vaccinated. One of the big problems with airports right now is that they're very short-staffed. And like actually a lot of industries across Canada are short-staffed. But the short staffing is adding to these delays, and the inability of a number of people to work because they are not vaccinated is contributing to that short staffing. So this article does not say whether that is going to be included in one of the changes. We don't know. I think it's probably a sensible change to make at this point. And also I'll add that the requirement for these employees to be vaccinated does not take into consideration whether those are employees working in person or from home. This obviously is not an issue that we deal with at the Canadian Constitution Foundation. That is really an employer kind of when it comes to federal employees. But as far as it relates to a mandate for private sector employees, that's the government has created a mandate that is sort of in our bailiwick. So I'd be interested if that change is going to happen. But it looks like what they're going to be changing is the prohibition on unvaccinated travelers flying. So if you want to learn more about some of the concerns that I have had with this policy and some of the work that we did leading up to this, check out my other video. I linked to it in the description. And I also did a recent interview on my television program, Canadian Justice, where I spoke with a member of parliament from Thornhill named Melissa Lanceman, who's done a lot of really excellent work on that. So I think Melissa deserves a lot of credit as well for putting a lot of pressure on the government to end this policy. She had a motion a week and a half ago now to end these policies. The motion was a private member's motion. It did not succeed. The Liberals and the NDP both voted against it, but I think it should have passed. And it looks like they voted against her motion, and now they turn around and do exactly a lot of the things that she was asking for. So that interview is linked in my other video. So go and check it out. Thanks for watching me live. I've never done one of these, but I wanted to pop on here really quickly to chat with you and tell you about this interesting update. All right, time for me to go to bed. Good night, everyone.